In today's video, we're going to talk about 6 uncomfortable retirement truths that you need to hear or at the very least be reminded of. Now, some of these will deal with the uncertainty that we need to deal with in retirement. Some of these will be in the category of what we should be focusing on in retirement to get the most out of retirement. Each of these, I think, will be valuable to remind yourself of in the future. Let's get into it. Uncomfortable truth number 1 is an important reminder for what we're dealing with right now. If you live a 30-year retirement, you are expected to see 5 to 6 bear markets during your retirement. Now, I'm hearing a lot from retirees that have just retired or are soon to retire that, wow, this is some great timing, right? As I retire, we see this market downturn. And understand that almost regardless of when you retire, a market downturn is right around the corner. They're quite common. These are not extraordinary events. In fact, they're quite ordinary. For instance, if we look at a bear market, which is classified as any time the stock market drops 20% or more, we've seen 26 of these bear markets back to 1929. The average bear market loss is 36%. So in this current bear market, there's a lot of news around how this is just going to be one of the worst. So in this current bear market that we're dealing with right now, there's a ton of news around how bad this is going to get, how this is going to be one of the worst bear markets we've seen in a very long time. Well, where we sit right now, we are not yet close to the average bear market downturn. So understand, in a historical context, we have a lot further to fall. Now, this is a lot of uncertainty for retirees to deal with, but understand that life has always had its uncertainties. Retirement is no different. The silver lining here is that the first bear market you experience right around retirement is likely going to be the worst. We're dealing with a lot of transitioning happening from working to now being retired, now having to live off of your assets. But once a retiree gets through that first bear market and we see the recovery, oftentimes I see future bear markets much easier to handle because we see that a bear market in retirement isn't really that much different than a bear market while working. And this shouldn't be something that you shy away from. There's incredible growth to be had inside of the stock market. On the left-hand side of the screen, this might be difficult to see. $10,000 invested in the stock market in 1950 by 2022 was worth $2.3 million. Just incredible growth when we think about just $10,000 turning into millions. Keep in mind, in order to gain the benefits of the left chart, you need to be comfortable with experiencing the downturns of the right chart. This is normal in investing. Investing does carry risks. We need to be comfortable with those risks. Uncomfortable truth number 2 is that your health, your time, and the people in your life are significantly more important than the money. And I challenge you, for all the time that you focus on the money side of retirement, and obviously we focus a lot on this channel on the money side of retirement, for all the time you spend on that side, I want you to spend more time on your health, your time, and the people in your life. Everybody knows the person on the screen right now, Warren Buffett. He has $98.1 billion as of this year and is 92 years old. And my question to you, would you trade places with Warren Buffett? There's a famous interview where Warren Buffett talks about how he would be willing to give up all of his wealth to be 30 or 35 years old again. Now, he doesn't specifically say that in this interview, but I would even guess he would trade places with you if you're 60 or 65 years old. Because all of the wealth in the world isn't worth those extra 30 years that he would gain back. So Warren Buffett would trade places with you. Would you also trade places with him? And the reason he would trade places with you is because he knows that he has about $98 billion more dollars than he actually needs. What he doesn't have a lot of anymore is his health, his time, and there's probably been quite a few people that he cares quite a bit about that have passed away over the years that he has lived. And so this is just my opinion, but the best way to get the most out of retirement is using money as a tool, because at the end of the day, that's all money is. And using money as a tool to amplify these other more important areas of your life, I think, is where you gain the most success in retirement. So how can we use money to improve our health? Can we exercise more? Can we get regular blood tests done that may cost a little bit more than our normal physician does for us to spot early issues that our physician may not identify without that blood work? How can we use our money to buy more time? I've talked about this in a few other videos, but there's a lot of things that I see retirees do, like mow their lawn or do normal housekeeping things, when they have the money to pay other people to do that for them. Why not buy your time back? Spend your time on the things that will deliver the most happiness to you. And then how can you use your money to spend more time with the people that you love? I think it's a fantastic idea. I've seen a few clients do this, where they take their wealth, they take their yearly travel budget, and they take their entire family to a specific place around the world. And I can tell you from the feedback from those retirees that the memories that they gain, spending time with the people they love the most, is much more important than anything else that money could have afforded them. Let's move on to truth number 3. There are no guarantees in retirement. Again, coming back to uncertainty, there is uncertainty in the future of your retirement, and regardless of if you build the absolute best retirement plan, or you hire a very capable retirement advisor, or even if you had 4 times the wealth that you currently have with these same retirement goals, there are no guarantees your retirement can still fail based on those goals. Now, this is quite scary, this is unsettling, and I don't talk about this truth with flippancy. What I want to talk about is we can what if ourselves to death, but we need to be willing to accept a level of risk in retirement. Our goal should not be to make sure our retirement is safe under every possible scenario. That's impossible. We have to be willing to identify what risks we're willing to accept and where we're comfortable failing. For instance, on the screen, I have a snapshot of a plan that has a 95% probability of success. And yet this retiree may be looking at this probability of success thinking, I would like it to be a little bit higher. There's still a 5% chance of failure. Well, let's dig into the plan. This is often what I like to do because there's context that should be provided around that probability of success. For instance, our goal should not be to gain the highest probability of success that the planning software gives. That means that we are likely being quite inefficient in the majority of scenarios because we're planning for the absolute worst cases. And if we're willing to accept the risk in some of those worst cases, we should be comfortable moving forward with that retirement. So you see here that out of the 1,000 simulations that we ran this plan under, I am looking at trial 971. So this is a 3 percentile trial. And as you can see, this retirement ends up failing. In fact, this retiree runs out of money in 2051 and they end up with a shortfall of about $33,000. So first off, what is a failure? This person in their final year of their life, when we're running a fairly long longevity schedule, ends up with $33,000 less than they ultimately would have wanted. Is that really a failure? We see that during this trial, the estimated growth was 2.21% in a fairly well-diversified portfolio. And so what is the likelihood that your portfolio earns less than 2.5% if it's set up properly? In my opinion, this should be a risk we are willing to accept. Maybe you disagree. Again, this is a personal question. But if we don't identify where we are comfortable failing, we are going to what if ourselves to death. For instance, here are a couple common what ifs that I hear on an ongoing basis. What happens if Social Security is eliminated? What happens if the stock market has a 20-year bear market? What happens if the US defaults on its debt and we have some further economic issues? Now, each of these what ifs would be disastrous for many retirements. But we also have to admit each of these what ifs are extremely unlikely as well. And so where are you comfortable failing? Each of these what ifs are out of our control. And so how much time do you ultimately want to spend focusing on things that are out of your control? Here's the next uncomfortable truth. Working longer than you need to won't help. Now, the work to retirement transition is a very difficult one that I see a lot of retirees struggle with, and understandably so. It's not only a financial transition, it's also a life transition. There are things we gain from our job that we don't readily think about as we cross over into retirement. When we move into retirement, we have a lack of income that comes in and can be a nice safety net through some market downturns. Oftentimes, we have a community at work that we undervalue, and when we move into retirement, we understand how important it was to have that human-to-human interaction. I also see a lot of retirees struggle with fulfillment and a sense of purpose. As they have a lot more time freedom, which generally looks like a good thing, how do we fill that time freedom with purposeful things? And so during this transition, I see a few retirees thinking they should go back to work to fix some of these issues. And what I would recommend you do is lean into this transition. Lean into the uncomfortable aspects of this transition because you will find the answers. For most people, all a job is a suboptimal hobby that you're paid for. Well, if you're able to enter retirement, by definition, you don't need the income. And so there are things that we accept as part of a job that aren't optimal. For instance, there are things we don't want to do. There's commutes we have to take. There's people that we don't want to deal with at work as well. But you can find a hobby that does deliver on all of the benefits that work gave you without sacrificing all the negative aspects of work. There's a quote I want to share with you from one of the most influential books I've ever read. It's deeply unsettling to find yourself doubting the point of what you're doing with your life, but it isn't actually a bad thing. It demonstrates an inner shift. You're now shifting from the hierarchy of needs, having to earn in order to survive, to now no longer being in that hierarchy of needs. You're occupying a new vantage point, one where you can't depend on fulfillment arriving at some point in the future. You have to capture fulfillment right now. And this is deeply unsettling, but it means you're shifting to a higher plane, focusing on the most important things in life and also wondering what is the point of life. I would recommend leaning into this. Truth number 5, in my opinion, is one of the more freeing truths if we internalize it. And that's no one knows what's going to happen with financial markets. Now, as human beings, we love narratives, especially when we have uncertainty. And there's a ton of uncertainty when it comes to financial markets. And so because of this, oftentimes we ask, what's going to happen next? So because of this, we search for narratives from the news, from advisors, from YouTube, from newsletters. And some of these narratives might be comforting. They may give you a false sense of security because you feel like you know what's going on. But I can guarantee the narratives you are hearing today are wrong, because no one knows what's going to happen next, and if it is right, it's just right by chance. On the screen, I have a chart from 2009 to 2021, and you can see all of the bad news, all of the reasons to sell, and despite this, this engine that is capitalism keeps trudging forward to new highs. Understand that financial markets are an extremely complex system. There are so many variables, so many players that are deciding where the market ends up going. Trying to consolidate together all of these variables into some sort of equation that has a probabilistic prediction of where the market is going to go is a fool's errand, especially as fast as the news seems to have the exact reasons the market declined 15 minutes ago. Now, for some of you, this may feel quite unsettling. After all, our investments, our life savings are tied to financial markets, and we don't ultimately know where they're going to go. Once again, we introduce uncertainty. But in my opinion, this is quite freeing, because the fact that no one knows what's going to happen next means that you can turn off the news, you can go play with your grandchildren, and know that you're not missing anything. Now, some of you, when you hear uncomfortable truth number 6, you're going to roll your eyes. Give me 60 seconds to kind of explain what I mean with this uncomfortable truth, and then you can let me know how you feel in the comments below. This is not a case to hire Safeguard Wealth Management. We are lucky enough to have more demand than we can meet. This is more general advice to everyone watching this video. You need a retirement advisor. You may have not needed one while you were working, but retirement is a different game. Now, I'm not going to sell you on all of the tangible benefits that you expect from an advisor. A few of you will be able to duplicate those tangible benefits, like tax planning, income planning, setting the right asset allocation, everything that comes with what you expect a retirement advisor to do for you. It's really the intangible benefits that I think make the case for why everyone should hire a retirement advisor. In fact, if I was about to enter retirement right now, I can guarantee I would be hiring an advisor. Even though I'm relatively competent in this retirement planning space, I think a retirement advisor is that important. And here's why. There are intangible benefits that you can't duplicate on your own, such as following through with the plan. This is a discussion I'm having quite a bit with retirees that are afraid to spend what they should based on market activity, and showing them that they can spend through market downturns, showing them that they shouldn't adjust their plan when we've already created a plan to plan for these type of inevitabilities, allows them to maintain their goals in retirement. Benefit number 3 that I have on the screen is one of the major reasons I would be looking to hire an advisor. The last thing that I want to do when I get into retirement is have to make sure everything is happening and being executed on exactly how the plan describes, which means tax loss harvesting and Roth conversions in down markets, rebalancing on an ongoing basis, making changes inside of your plan, looking at the data inside of your plan to help you make future decisions, keeping track of different changes that Congress is putting through. All of these things take time, and what is your time worth in retirement? I've made the case before, your time in retirement is worth more than any other phase in your life. And as you can see, I have a few other benefits listed as well. Now, this is not to say that every advisor is good, that you should hire just any advisor. As with anything, there are good advisors and there are bad advisors. There are some advisors that charge as a percentage of assets on an ongoing basis. There are other advisors that charge a fee for service or as an hourly fee. Ultimately, you need to pick the relationship that best fits what you ultimately want. But I believe a retirement advisor is an absolute must as you enter this next phase of your life. Now, if you like this video that steps a little bit out of the financial side of retirement and dives into the softer side of retirement, I think you're going to like this video as well. In this video, I talk about the most important financial skill that you need to learn to have a successful retirement. And I talk about how we can view money as a tool and not the end-all be-all of retirement. Thanks for watching, and always remember, you don't need more money, you need a better plan.